Let's look at each one of these lines of code. Let's understand. Let's connect the dots to the functions concept that we have learned earlier. I told you that functions are nothing but reusable code components that are available. And there are two types of functions, built-in and user-defined functions. I'll start with built-in functions. So what you're seeing on screen, I've taken a simple absolute value, which is nothing but a built-in function. What is absolute value? If I say 5, the absolute value of 5 is 5. If I say minus 5, the absolute value of minus 5 is 5. So it doesn't matter plus or minus, the value, the absolute value, that's what it's going to return. So we have a function for it, already pre-written, already built in Python. It's called ABS, and you pass parameter, that is the number, to it. So when I pass ABS minus 10, what do you think the output will be? As you guessed it right, the outcome will be 10. So ABS of minus 10 is 10. ABS of 5 will be 5. ABS of minus 7 will be 7. To give you some more examples of built-in functions, check out. If I want to create or use or identify what is the value of power, that is, I want to calculate 8 to the power of 2. Okay, so I have a power built-in function, POW it is called as, and I pass two parameters to it. Here I want to calculate 8 to the power of 2, so I pass both 8 and 2 as parameters. So when I execute this, what you are seeing on screen is nothing but the answer for it, that is 8 to the power of 2, 8 square, that is 64. If you want to calculate 2 to the power of 8, can you tell me what would be the function that you would use and what would be the parameters that you would pass? You're right. You're going to use the same function, POW, but instead of 8, 2, I'll pass it across as 2, 8. So 2 to the power of 8, that would be computed across. Same way, I want to calculate 20 divided by 7, where I know that 2 is the output and 6 is the remainder. Okay, that is 2 7s are 14, 14 plus 6 is 20. Now how do I calculate the mod? So div mod 20, 7, when I use this built-in function, I understand what is the output and what is the remainder. Okay, so 20, 7 means 2 times 7, so 2 is the first one, and automatically 6 is the remainder, so quotient and the remainder you are getting it very clearly. Maybe just for you to ponder. If I want to calculate, if I pass, let's say for example div mod 14, 5, what do you think is the output? Can you make a guess? That is div mod 14, 5. Execute and check it out. You'll receive 2, 4 as the answer. Rounding the numbers, another popular thing that we use across in calculations. So there is a built-in function round that is available, which you can use it across. So rounding can be done. So round a number to a given precision in a decimal digit. You can say how many decimal digits you wanted to round it to. That is also something which is possible. So round 105.5, when I execute this, I'm going to round it off to the nearest decimal digit. So anything above 0.5 gets closer to the next one. So 106 is the answer for it. Same way, round off 60.3333, the complete number that you're seeing on screen. What do you think will be the output? 60 or 61? It is 60.33. Why? Because at the end I have given comma 2. That is, I want to round it off to 2 decimal digits. So instead of 60.34 or 60.33, it has become 60.33 because the number of decimal digits is 2. You want to calculate the minimum? There is a built-in function, minimum of 10, 15. Which one is the minimum of 2? That is 10 is the right answer, you are getting that. Same way, maximum of 2 values you can calculate. Maximum of 10, 15, 15. So in a way, these are standard calculations that you perform on numericals. Most of the calculations that you perform on numericals, almost all of them are available as built-in functions in Python so that you can execute them directly. Now let me also talk about some of the functions that are available from the string point of view. I want to calculate the length of a given string or the array or the list or the tuple or the dictionary that I may have, any data structure that I may have. If I want to calculate the length, then I can use len, which is a built-in function that is available for this. So when I use len machine learning, it is going to compute and tell me how many alphabets are there. 16 is the right answer. This includes the space also between machine and learning. Sum, can I find the total? So let's say LST 1, 2, 3, 4 are the 4 data elements, and I want to calculate the sum of all the 4 elements. Then I just have to pass LST as an input, as a parameter, to sum as a function, which is an inbuilt function, and I get the output directly as 10. Using sum and length, can you find an average? Because if you want to calculate the average, you have to sum all the elements in the list and then divide it by the number of elements in the list. You understood how to calculate the sum of all the elements in the list. Use the sum function. But how will you find out the number of elements in the list? This is where you are going to use len, the length. So you use average as a function. You are defining it where it is nothing but sum of LST divided by len of LST. So average is a variable, not a function. So it is calculating, that is, you are using sum and len as the two functions, and then you are dividing them, and then you are calculating the average, and then you are storing it in average. When I execute this, I get the output rightly as 2.5. Why? Because 10 divided by 4 elements, that is 2.5. Remember, a couple of modules back, couple of sections back, I was discussing about typecasting. Do you have standard built-in functions in Python to do typecasting? Yes. Now, how can I use standard functions to calculate or to look at the data type? Check this one. So to know the data type of the variable, I can use something called as a type function. All I have to do is I have to pass the variable to that type function, and it will help me, it will return the type of that particular variable. Like n1 equal to 2. I have directly assigned 2 to n1. I am passing n1 to type. Now when I execute this, what will be the type? Integer, isn't it? Had it been 2.1, it would have come out as float. That's where the difference comes in. Same way, look at the next one. n2 equal to 5, but within quotes. Now what do you think is the type of n2? Is it the same integer or is it something else? It will definitely be something else, and it is a string because it has been given within quotes. So type is also a built-in function which will help you to understand the type of the variables. We can also change the data type of the variables. This is where the typecasting comes into picture. Where I want to convert integer to float, I can use the float function. I want to convert the float to integer, I can use integer function int. Check this one. We already understood that n1 is an integer. I'm passing n1 as an input to float, and then I'm storing it in f1. Now let me execute this. Now it has been executed. Since I don't have any print statements, I don't have any variables directly printed, I'm not getting the output. But when I check the type of f1, you'll be able to see the output as float, because n1 as an integer has been converted to float using the float variable. If you check n3, the n3 is nothing but integer of n2, that is, it has been converted to integer, whatever that has been stored in n2. So type is a typecasting function that is available in Python. Integer, float are all different functions that are available for you to typecast. Now let's look at some string functions. A1 is equal to Python. You added an extra space, that is A2. You have added a space in the beginning and in the end. Now A12 is nothing but A1 equal to A2. Now print A12. Actually, what is happening here? You are getting false because of the extra space. That is, this A1 and A2 are not the same. That's what my code is telling me. Why? Because there are two additional spaces. Even though Python is the same in both these strings, in the second string I have two additional spaces. So automatically Python doesn't consider A1 and A2 to be the same. So what is the option that I have? I have to trim that extra spaces that are available in the second variable. If I trim them, A1 and A2 will be the same. But how do I trim that? I have a function, a built-in function already available. That is, I have L strip and R strip. That is left of strip, right of strip. So strip removes that extra space. So let me check that out. A2.strip is something which if I do it, automatically it is going to execute and tell me. Now if you notice, A1 is equal to A2. After stripping, it is the same. That's why I'm getting the value of true now. I hope you're able to understand the importance of these built-in functions, because most of the things which we might struggle to create as a function is already available in Python. But it is important for you to get exposure to all these functions. Can I count the words that are there in a sentence? Yes, I can. How? Check this example. I have something called as a count that is available for me to find out how many particular words are available in a sentence. Take this one. Machine learning is interesting. Is it not? Is the phrase that I have stored in S1. But I want to count how many times is there in S1. So what is the code that I have used? S1.count of is. When I execute this and print it across, I clearly get the answer as 2. Why? Because I have one is here, the second is on the right side. So 2 is. Is there a way I can replace? Yes. Same string function, string.replace, the name of the string.replace, if you use it across, you can replace the words. Like instead of machine learning, I have replaced it with Python now. So instead of saying machine learning is interesting, is it not? Now when I used replace, it has replaced and the output is Python is interesting, is it not?